Well, let's bring it back home now. New claims this morning that the cash rate could hit 4.85%. Joining us live, Shadow Treasurer Angus Taylor. Angus, good morning to you. That would be the highest forecast yet. Frightening for some mortgage owners. How do you respond to that?
Well, it's pretty grim circumstances, Pete, and you don't have to tell Australians that things are tough out there right now. We see it in the national accounts, though. Those numbers are very clear yesterday. We've got an economy that's shuddering to a halt. We've got inflation absolutely raging. We've got Australians having to dig deep into their savings to make ends meet, having to work extra hours to make ends meet. We've got business costs rising at a rapid rate. We've got productivity falling off a cliff like nothing we have ever seen before. Now, time in government, we saw steady increases in productivity, Labor productivity, but we've seen a 4.6% reduction in 1 year, and we've got a government that's asleep at the wheel and doesn't want to take responsibility for these circumstances and looking for anyone to blame other than themselves. We need the government to take responsibility. We need a whole blend of policies that's going to deal with this. In fact, what we're getting is policies that are the exact opposite. And we've got a Treasurer who wants to spend the day talking about banning cheques. This is not what we need right now, Pete. We need a fighting inflation first mindset, and that's not what we saw in the budget. It's not what we're seeing in the policies coming from Labor, and the market's responding. And, you know, these are not the circumstances any of us would wish for.
Yep, you brought up productivity. You're right, it has fallen off a cliff, but growth has been stagnant for a decade now. Is there such thing as a quick fix?
Well, Pete, that's not right. This is Labor talking points. So let me give you the facts. We saw steady improvements in productivity. We can debate whether we wanted them to be higher. Of course, you always want them to be high, but we saw a steady increase in our time in government, around 10 percentage points across that decade. We've seen a 4.6% drop, half of that improvement disappearing in a year. We've got industrial relations policies that are moving against productivity. We've got businesses across the board saying these are the wrong policies for now. We've got investment policy that's all wrong. Labor's taking away accelerated depreciation. They're taking away patent boxes. Investment is absolutely crucial to see productivity gains. And we've got a Labor Party that is doing all the wrong things, and a budget that the best they can say about it is that it's not fighting inflation. We need a government that actually treats this as its priority.
You mentioned IR there. Chalmers has touted AI as a potential fix to productivity. Others have said just bin the IR reforms. Which would you prefer?
Well, we need solutions now. We need a government that's focused on answers now, not putting industrial relations regimes in place that are actually going to make the situation worse. Not bringing down budgets that they claim, oh, it's okay because it hasn't made it worse. Well, we needed a budget that makes it better.
So do you think they should bin the IR reforms?
Well, we've been very clear about the IR reforms they put through earlier in this term a number of months ago. We've been very clear that we're against that. These new IR reforms, we'll look forward to seeing the detail. But frankly, everything we're hearing, the idea that you shouldn't be able to encourage employees to work harder by giving them incentives to do that, this is all wrong. This is all wrong. And, it's no wonder we're seeing productivity fall off a cliff. Now, let me tell you why that's so important. It's important because business costs are rising at such a rapid rate, 8 or 9 percentage points a year to produce any of their goods and services, and they pass that through.
Sure.
So, that's what we need to see. And let me be clear about this. This tells you how little the government cares. The Treasurer has not even met with the chairman of the Productivity Commission to talk about their 5-yearly Productivity Commission report that they put out a number of months ago, which was an excellent piece of work. I've been through it carefully and I'll continue to. There's a lot of detail in there. We're treating this report as extremely important, but the Treasurer has simply not even taken a briefing on it.
Are we headed for a recession, Angus?
Well, I'm not going to get into forecasting. What I'm going to say is right now we've got an economy that's shuddering to a halt at the same time as inflation is raging. This is a very dangerous blend. I'm old enough to remember the last time we saw these kinds of circumstances in the 70s and the 80s. It took a long while to unwind it. Once you let it get away, it's very hard to fix. And the truth is, Labor governments are not good at managing the economy. They're not good at managing money. They're not good at making sure that we get the right blend of policies that ensures that we have a strong economy, that we contain inflation, that we give people an opportunity, that most of all we ensure that hard-working Australians who want to get ahead can get ahead and aren't turned into the working poor.